Okay, hello everybody. If I can invite everyone to please find their seats. We are on a bit of a tight timeline as we do have live streaming and media joining us online, so we do need to get the show on the road with this exciting announcement that is forthcoming. So please come on in and find your seats, and we will begin ASAP. Thank you. Okay, welcome back everybody. I hope you enjoyed the morning breakout sessions. At this time, we're going to move into the next segment of our agenda, which is our plenary with this very special announcement on our reconciliation strategy. I would like to invite our good friend Charlie to come forward. If he is close by, we would like to start this segment in a good way. So, do I see Charlie? Perhaps Lucy or one of the staff could bring Charlie in if he's outside. There he is. Fantastic. Drum roll for Charlie. Okay, so at this time I'd like to turn the floor over to Charlie to do an opening song to begin this segment of our agenda. Thank you again, brother, and Niki Sharma. Thanking you again to our dear friend Charlie George for opening this segment of our agenda with that beautiful song. At this time, I'd like to welcome the members of the media who are joining us online. As well, I'd like to introduce our party in the front here, who will be our speaking party for this segment, beginning with Niki Sharma is a Parliamentary Secretary for Community Development and Nonprofits with the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. So thank you, Niki. Also, as you know, Leslie Varley is our Executive Director of the BC Association of Aboriginal Friendship Centres. Following Leslie will be Dr. Saul Klein, Dean, and Dr. Brent Mainprize, Professor at the University of Victoria. Okay, unfortunately, these two representatives are delayed, but they will be joining us hopefully in the near future. So we wish them safe travels. Also want to recognize, as you met yesterday, our two friends, Dr. Elika Lafontaine and Dr. Kamea Lafontaine, co-founders of Safespace Networks. So welcome back, gentlemen. As well, to my left is Rick Fitzzeeland. I apologize if I mispronounce. Thank you, Rick. As well as Rebecca Lang. So Rick is the Executive Director and Rebecca is the Associate Executive Director of the Federation of Community Social Services of BC. Welcome. To my left here is also my friend Cliff Freegan is Haida. Thank you, Cliff, for being here. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Indspire. It's nice to have you back home. Welcome back to the West Coast. And beside him is Robin McLay, Regional Director of Fulbright Canada West. So thank you very much, Robin. This is our panel who will be speaking in this segment. So I'd like to invite Niki Sharma to be the first to speak. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Everybody hear me okay? Well, it's so great to be here. I just want to thank you, first of all, for the great introduction, Chief Ian Campbell, and for the beautiful opening song to Charlie George. What a beautiful space to gather with you all, and I've heard that you had 3 great days, and it's nice to join you on your 3rd day here. I'm Niki Sharma, the Parliamentary Secretary for Community Development and Nonprofits, and I'm honored to be with you here today on the traditional territory of the Squamish and Lillooet First Nations. I want to acknowledge the elders, First Nation leaders, and chiefs who have joined us today. And of course, I want to acknowledge and congratulate BCAAFC on their 50th anniversary, which is really quite remarkable. Leslie and team, you do so much, and that's the impact of all the people in the room across the province, and I just want to acknowledge you and raise my hands to you, and just, I hope you're really proud of all the work that you've done. I know it's quite a milestone today. I also know that you're a vital partner in advancing reconciliation across BC. I know that you and a network of friendship centers throughout BC have expertise and insights into the barriers that First Nations, Métis, and Inuit continue to face, particularly those who live and work in urban, rural, and remote centers. This kind of expertise and insights are what the governments at all levels need to advance reconciliation. And I simply couldn't be more pleased to be standing here today with all these very accomplished people that will be coming after me and speaking. In November 2019, we made history when the province unanimously passed the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People Act, the first legislation of its kind in Canada. Since then, we've made many historic first steps, including being the first jurisdiction in Canada to release an action plan to implement the United Nations Declaration. That plan articulates the vision that we see for a meaningful reconciliation, a province where the rights of Indigenous peoples are fully realized, respected, upheld, and implemented. While we face immense challenges during this time, First Nations and Indigenous organizations, including the Association of Aboriginal Centres, have worked with us to develop this action plan. This results in 89 specific actions for every ministry to advance the implementation of the United Declaration in important areas like education, social services, justice reform, and forestry. One of these actions is to work with First Nations, Métis, and chartered communities and urban Indigenous organizations to provide funding for self-determined, community-led programs for Indigenous people, which brings us to today's announcement today. On behalf of the Premier and the British Columbia, Government of British Columbia, I'm very, very pleased to announce that we're investing $8.4 million to advance reconciliation in BC's community social services sector, namely the more than 2,000 agencies in BC that provide social services to individuals and their families. This government-sponsored initiative is the result of hard work of the Social Services Roundtable, a forum that's chaired by Minister Nicholas Simons, the Minister of Poverty Reduction and Social Development, and senior government agencies that come together pretty regularly to talk about the challenges and the things to overcome in the social services sector and what government needs to do to respond to those challenges. I just so much appreciate the collaboration that happens at that table, and I know a lot of the hard work that's being announced today that will come from today is because of that collaboration. This Reconciliation Initiative is the first of its kind and will help Indigenous people have culturally safe access to social services. And it can be a national example of Indigenous-led transformational change, and it's great news. Every Indigenous person should be able to access culturally safe services when they go to a social services agency, and they also, when they work in a social services agency, they should feel culturally safe. We know that social, structural, and systemic changes are necessary to right injustices of the past and present, and to put an end to anti-Indigenous hate and discrimination, helping to build an economy and an inclusive province. Through this investment, we're increasing social service providers' capacity to offer culturally safe, inclusive, accessible social services to Indigenous people throughout BC. I will leave it to Leslie and the other speakers to provide the details on what the investment will accomplish, but in brief, the $8.3 million investment will support the development of a reconciliation framework over the coming 5 years. Overseen by the Association of Friendship Centers, the framework will include an Indigenous Master's degree in Business Administration delivered by the University of Victoria, the delivery of an Indigenous cultural safety training program helping to recognize and uproot anti-Indigenous racism, the expansion and customization of existing anti-racism tools so we know where cultural safety training should be prioritized. I want to emphasize that this is an Indigenous-led, multifaceted approach to support the delivery of culturally safe and inclusive services for Indigenous people. Because oftentimes, as a government that is trying to reconcile, one of our biggest tasks is to get out of the way. I can't stress enough about the importance of this approach. And I know that by working in partnership with Indigenous people, we are building a stronger province, one where everyone can have access to the supports that they need and opportunities they deserve, today and for generations to come. I want to thank all of the partners for coming together to not only help form the vision that kind of was the bottom of this initiative, the foundation that was built up to today, but also the work that will happen coming forward. I want to thank you for your vision, your hard work, and your commitment to making this province a better place, and to all of you in the room for being a part in the very important work that we have before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Niki. Really appreciate you traveling to be with us today for this very special announcement, and I appreciate all the work that you have put into this to champion this. I'd like to now invite Leslie to the podium, our Executive Director of BC AAFC.
Amahichluk. Good morning, everybody. My name is Leslie Varley. I'm the Executive Director at BC Association of Aboriginal Friendship Centers, and I stand here before you on behalf of all of the good people in this room, all of the member friendship centers, the elders, the youth, and the board of directors. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your work. Thank you to Parliamentary Secretary Niki Sharma for her support and her kind words. P.S. Sharma has long been an advocate for Indigenous people, and I am so happy that it is you, Niki, that is making this announcement today. When the province created the Social Services Roundtable, I realized that there are so many non-Indigenous ally organizations who really want to support our work. After members of the Social Services Sector Roundtable urged the province to make reconciliation the priority at our roundtable, the province offered me the opportunity to put a plan together for our sector. Reconciliation seems to hold such promise, but in reality, I find it difficult to conceptualize. Instead, I thought about what we really need in our sector. Our Indigenous and non-Indigenous sector needs to work more closely. Most of our friendship centers have non-Indigenous staff. After they've worked with us for a while and they've taken the SANYAS, Indigenous Cultural Safety Training Program, and have been exposed to the multiple factors that exclude and oppress us as Indigenous people, they start to get it, and most of them start to get us. We then become allies and friends. But we need to expand this process, and we need to reach critical mass. We need much more Indigenous inclusion in non-Indigenous organizations and in services. So how can we work together, I asked myself, to create and demonstrate pathways of inclusion? This plan offers clear pathways that can lead us towards reaching the goal of reconciliation. We've gathered together many good people we have worked with over the last few years here. Each of our partners has good history with BCAFC, and collectively, we are committed to working together for larger and more impactful social change. Doctors Alika and Kamea Lafontaine have been working with us piloting the Safespace app. The data tells us Indigenous-specific racism in our province is far more prevalent than we have ever imagined. Yet we know that Indigenous people trust us as an association. Our friendship centers are trusted as organizations so that they will feel safe to report their racism experiences to us. So we can use that information and that data with Safespace, with the app created by Doctors LaFontaine, to capture racism issues in our sector more broadly. We've completed a pilot, it was highly successful, and now we're going to expand that. This is one measure we can use to see where we need to focus and where we are seeing progress. The University of Victoria's Gustafson School of Business, Dr. Saul Klein and Dr. Brent Mainprize have previously partnered with BCAAFC to develop and deliver the 3C Challenge, the Youth Entrepreneurship Training Challenge, and they delivered our mini management training program a few years ago. It was like a little mini MBA, and many of you in this room took that training. We will work with UVic to develop a master's degree in business administration that is co-developed by and for our social services sector, making sure that every course is relevant to our sector, and through sitting together in class and in working on our projects together, we know that each of our sectors, Indigenous and non-Indigenous learners, will grow their capacity for reconciliation, and that will spread. We also have a Kwakikwak leader, Dr. Cheryl Ward, who researched and developed SANYAS, Indigenous Cultural Safety Training. She made SANYAS available to Indigenous folks in our sector free of charge. Dr. Ward will be leading us to develop and implement cultural safety organizational assessment measures, tools, and training, as well as train the trainers so that we will have that skill set within our individual friendship centers so that we can grow our cultural safety skills sets collectively as a sector. And finally, we have Rick Fitzaland and Rebecca Long, who have been solid advocates for Indigenous inclusion in the social services sector, and it is their leadership and advocacy that brings us together here today. I am completely humbled by the leadership of Rick Fitzaland, and I hold my hands up in high respect and esteem to you today, Rick. We have other partners. We have Indspire, represented here today by Cliff Fragan, who is supporting each of our Indigenous MBA candidates with a scholarship. And we have Fulbright Canada here today, represented by Robin McClay, who will be providing scholarships to all the candidates. I believe we have the best allies and the best Indigenous experts standing with us here today to collaboratively work with us to make room for our own unique social services pathways towards reconciliation. We have 5 years and $8.4 million to start to implement social change. Let's make every hour and every dollar count. But there's one more thing I want to say. We can't do this without the strong membership, without the strong member centers around the room here, and without our solid board of directors supporting us, and it goes without saying, our solid team at BC Association of Friendship Centres, who have been helping us every single day doing all of the heavy lifting that we need to do to make something like this possible. Let's do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, for your leadership on behalf of the association. This work will have a profound impact in a positive way for our communities. I'd now like to invite our two friends, Dr. Alika Lafontaine and Dr. Kamea Lafontaine, the co-founders of Safespace Networks, to be our next speakers.
Thanks so much for the opportunity to be a part of this announcement. I'd like to acknowledge the elders that guide us in this work, the community that's here that grounds the actions that we take, and the many stakeholders that are present who help enable us to actually do these things. One of the comments that I've always appreciated that came out of BC First Nations was that truth comes before reconciliation. With the announcement today and the ongoing work that we've been blessed to be a part of with BC AFC, Safespace Networks has observed an ongoing effort to find a place for truth to reside, a safe space for it to be spoken and received. When we were young, our grandfather, Napoleon Lafontaine, taught us about what gifts truly are. For a gift to be a gift, it needs to be freely given, but it also has to be freely received. Although change is happening, the truth of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit patience is not yet seen as a gift by everyone who can benefit from hearing it. This allocation of resources for reconciliation is an opportunity to move this change further. Sharing our stories in the healthcare system should no longer be seen as a risk, as a challenge, or as a burden. Sharing our stories is a gift. And it's a gift that myself, Kamea, and the rest of the Safespace Networks teams believes can transform the healthcare system in BC. I think sometimes we sit and we wait for champions to appear in order to make the change that we hope will happen in the world. I'd just like to say that in behalf of me, my brother, and everyone that we work with in supporting your work, you are the champions who will transform your own systems. And we're very blessed to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you to Dr. Lafontaines for the work that you're championing. Again, we heard from them yesterday, and the presentation, certainly is generations of effort in the making. So again, we applaud you for your ongoing commitment. I would now like to turn our attention to Rick Fitzzeeland, Executive Director, along with Rebecca Lang, Associate Executive Director from the Federation of Community Social Services of BC. Welcome.
Thank you, Ian. And thank you, everyone. We've been here for a couple of days for your conference. We have felt very welcomed. It's been a wonderful conference, but just the welcome was worth being here. So I guess the first thing I want to do is to recognize Leslie Varley's leadership in this. She is a very powerful person and very inspiring. And quite honestly, it's a little difficult not to get on side with her when she puts her mind to taking a direction. It's been a joy to be on this journey with Leslie. I'd like to thank P.S. Sharma as well. In our work, I have interaction with a lot of government ministers, and many of them are fine people, and I enjoy working with them. But P.S. Sharma has something unique. I think it is her genuine commitment, her genuine love for this sector. The social services sector is, I think, the most commonly overlooked and the least appreciated. And within that sector, which is struggling to survive, that we have the Aboriginal Friendship Centers who get less than everybody else gets. So it's an injustice and an imbalance that needs to be addressed. This is an important step in helping to do that. We're committed to taking all of the next steps that need to be taken. It's not going to be an easy road. The MBA program is an important piece of this. If we're going to do things differently, we need to have different leaders with different mindsets, with different skill sets, committed to a whole different approach to delivering social services, and a different approach to the way that Indigenous people and Indigenous services are perceived and the way that they fit into the network of services in this province. So we're very proud to be part of this. Thank you very much to all of you for your welcome here. Again, thank you to Leslie for letting us be part of this journey.
Good morning. I'd just like to echo Rick's comments about the warm welcome we felt from the elders, from the Friendship Centers, and the BC Association staff this week. It's been a wonderful week, and I'm really thankful that I was able to meet so many of you and be here. And I'd like to thank and acknowledge the members of the Lillooet and Squamish Nations who warmly welcomed us here as well. I feel lucky to have been here this week. The social services sector in BC is often not somewhere that Indigenous people have felt that they are welcomed, felt safe, or felt that they belonged. And today's announcement will go a long way in changing that. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm really hopeful about that. This announcement and the investment will put tools in the hands of clients, of staff, and of leaders in the sector to make the changes that we need to see to decolonize, to indigenize social services, and to address the anti-Indigenous racism that so many of our community members experience when they're at their most vulnerable, which is a particularly heartache that I feel. Leslie talked earlier this week about us being linked arms between the Federation and the BC Association, and I'm truly humbled that we were invited to speak here today, and truly humbled that we've earned Leslie's trust to be here. And I want to acknowledge that linking arms with us in this action are 20 other umbrella organizations that represent different aspects of the social services sector in this province, all of whom, as Leslie and P.S. Sharma acknowledged, made a commitment at the Social Services Roundtable to make reconciliation our #1 priority. So that includes organizations that represent employment programs, services for disabilities, gender-based violence, sexual health, seniors, volunteers, the whole spectrum of what any individual in BC should be able to expect if they need help or assistance or any kind of support. And all of those organizations are linked arms with us today in standing behind this investment and the actions that have been noted here. And that gives me great hope. We'll have the tools that we need, and we also have the people that we need to see real change in this province. Lastly, I'd just like to thank the BC Association and Leslie in particular for their leadership, their courage, their determination. This was a lonely battle at times, I know, and for continuing to show up in spaces and encourage people to learn and to commit to being stronger allies. We're here today because of that leadership, and I'm just so very thankful. And I'd also like to thank the province of BC for making this commitment and living into action around reconciliation in this way. This investment will support reconciliation, and it'll also support the strength and sustainability of community social services in this province. We can't have one without the other, and this announcement really speaks to the valuing of the work that each and every one of the people in this room has committed their lives and their hearts to. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick and Rebecca. It's an honor to have the Federation of Community Social Services of BC as allies in reconciliation. So thank you again for your continued work in this regard. It's now my honor to introduce our friend Cliff Fragan, Chief Operating Officer of Indspire, to be our next speaker. Welcome, Cliff.
Good morning. Is it still morning? Yes, it is. Good morning, everyone. It's kind of strange talking to this aisle, isn't it? I love this room. This is amazing. My name is Cliff Fragan. I'm from Hattagwai, Old Masset, Kunlanis clan. My Haida name is Nan Karinas, which my grandmother gave me a few years ago, one who knows. She also said some other things about it, but we won't go into that. It's such a pleasure to be here. I actually grew up in Prince Rupert. I think the Prince Rupert Friendship Center's here. And a long time ago, the Friendship Center sponsored our basketball team. Long time ago. I actually grew up in Rupert, you know, working right next to the Friendship Center for years. I used to be the CEO of the New Relationship Trust here in British Columbia, and in the last 3 years I moved out to Ontario in time for a pandemic, which I was in lockdown for 2 years with Indspire, running an organization which is actually a top 10 charity in the country, a national charity, and a top 5 youth charity from as awarded by Charity Intelligence. A great group of people out there working. We actually had a booth at AFN this week in Vancouver, and one of the main questions that were asked at our booth was, is Indspire national? And we are national. However, getting over the Rockies, I guess, has been a tough thing in the past. So Indspire, we're very happy to be here. We're very happy to match the Indigenous scholarships for this new MBA program. As others have said, Leslie is very convincing to be a partner with, and there's nothing wrong with that. In addition, I'd like to this will be the first announcement anywhere that I will be moving back to BC, yay, and opening Indspire West office in Vancouver, North Vancouver. So I'm really looking forward to building partnerships throughout the province and actually awarding more scholarships to Indigenous students in BC and Alberta and in the West. Mainly BC, because I've seen the stats. We can do better here. And as I said, Indspire, national organization. Last year we had our best year ever. 23.2 million in scholarships and bursaries throughout the country. 6,900 awards to Indigenous students to support their post-secondary education. I'm not going to take too much time. I asked if I could get more time. I also, as a final, I'm not sure if everyone got a chance to see the Indspire Awards last month on CBC and APTN, but I'd like to acknowledge this year's Lifetime Achievement Indspire Laureate, Marjorie White, and I hope you saw that vignette of her home. It was fantastic, And congratulations to Marjorie. And again, looking forward to meeting you and working with more organizations in the province and supporting Indigenous students. And when I say that, I also want to do more work with the provincial government as well. Let's open that door. Hawa.
Hawa nan kainas. Thank you so much to Cliff Fragan for being here today and traveling out from back east. And again, it's fantastic to hear Inspire West is one of your leadership initiatives. So thank you again for the work that you're doing in supporting so many of our students across the country. I'd now like to invite our friend Robin McLeay, who is the Regional Director of Fulbright Canada West. It's good to see you again, Robin, and welcome. We invite you to the podium at this time.
Hello, everyone. It's a great honor to be here, and I really appreciate the kind welcome from the Lillooet and Squamish Nation. Again, a great honor to be here. And Leslie Varley, I again want to thank you very much for the kind invitation and to be a part of this partnership. My name is Robin McLeay, Métis with strong roots from Alberta, but I spent a good deal of my life in British Columbia. And I've had the honor of actually working and leading the social innovation work for the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. When I was there, it was social development and social innovation. Great to see familiar faces, Rick Fitzgerald, Cliff Regan, Alika, and of course, Chief Ian Campbell, who I believe we last met in Boston at Harvard University. I'll tell you a little bit about Fulbright Canada and how this kind of connects to everything we're doing here. Fulbright is one of the world's largest scholarship and research granting organizations with a very large international exchange program. We've also decided to launch Fulbright Canada West to better serve the communities in Western Canada and the Western Seaboard in Canada and the United States. We've had a very long history of supporting Indigenous scholars for more than 20 years, many that have gone on to some fine universities in both countries and have gone on to do remarkable things. And I believe, Alika, we met about 20 years ago when you gave a big presentation at one of our anniversary events, so really pleased to see you here. As part of Fulbright Canada West, we've also launched Honoring Nations Canada. This is a global initiative that identifies, recognize and rewards outstanding examples of governance around the world. And our program here is a partnership with the Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development. But the Canadian program, the Canadian Honoring Nations, will be Indigenous-led and Indigenous-informed. And I'm again honored to say that Leslie Varley is a founding member of our Circle of Advisors, along with Cliff Regan, to keep us on our toes and to ensure that we live to our principles of being Indigenous-led, and that these are much more than just words. This is core to our values. And again, to be a part of this Indigenous MBA program, Fulbright is there to support the students. The students that go through this program will be connected to the global Fulbright alumni network that will continue to open up opportunities and to engage with them well beyond the tenure of their academic achievements. So on that note, I am available. We have opened our Fulbright Canada West office. It will be located in Vancouver. We're there to support and to serve. And just beyond being a scholarship program, we're proud that we do provide the support and the wraparound and the various services that are needed to ensure that our students are successful and their educational journeys are meaningful and purposeful on many levels. So thank you again. And Leslie, I just want to acknowledge again your great leadership. I've been familiar with the impactful work that you've done. And again, I appreciate you inviting us into this circle, and Fulbright International and Fulbright Canada is really honored to be a part of this partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Robin. We know the caliber, reputation, and the networking that comes with Fulbright, so we really appreciate you getting behind this exciting project around the MBA, and we've seen the work that you've achieved on a global scale with Indigenous peoples. You cited the Harvard project and others, which is very inspiring for our young people, especially coming out of residential schools, which our parents and grandparents experienced. We're now turning the page, so we really welcome Fulbright to the table, and thank you for your work. I do want to again acknowledge our representatives from UVic, from the University of Victoria, from the Gustafson Business School. Could not be here. They were in transit with a flight. Unfortunately, you see the weather outside today. Unfortunately, turned their plane around as a result of safety. So we do send regrets from Dr. Saul Klein, the Dean, as well as Dr. Brent Mainprize, Professor of University of Victoria, who will be hosting the MBA program. And again, thank you, Leslie, for negotiating this opportunity in the space with UVic to be the post-secondary institute that will be the venue for this program. So hopefully the two reps from UVic will arrive this afternoon. Is a possibility that you could meet them and have a sidebar discussion with them, or we could introduce them to you. So with that, we want to take this opportunity to thank the head table here, all of our delegates who have traveled near and far to be with us today for this exciting announcement. We are going to officially close the live streaming at this time and thank all of the participants who joined us via modern smoke signals on the live stream, as well as all of our media friends who were joining us today. Thank you to the media that were here present as well as online. This concludes the announcement. As we close this segment of our agenda, we are ahead of time. So we do have the nod from Leslie and the team that we can entertain a few questions directed to any of the individuals at the head table here from our delegates. So now that the live streaming has been closed, I would like to recognize any